All right, this is Zippers chapters 4 and 5. He sat on his couch staring at the box on the floor of what he deemed useless papers, notes, stationery supplies, and miscellaneous mementos from Annex Systems. He fingered the cell phone in his pocket. He looked at the newly purchased bottle of Cabernet sitting on the coffee table, still unopened. He never wanted to talk to his girlfriend more than now, and he never wished to see her name ring on his caller ID more than that day. But he had already left too many desperate, ill messages. With a tremor of neediness, he knew when to quit, when to give up. He reached for the bottle. Tuesday found Jacob sitting in the largest waiting room he had ever waited in. There were at least 150 people, all ages, sitting in the slave ship shackled with invisible chains to the plastic chairs. They were reading paperbacks, doing crossword puzzles, reading news, interacting, interneting, intermingling on their cell phones and iPads, or just popping gum while they stared, counting the white acne-pimpled squares on the fluorescent-lit ceiling. After filling out a tedious questionnaire, Jacob cursed himself for not bringing something else to read or work on. All he could do was fiddle with his bare-bones Samsung bottom-of-the-line cell phone and double-check dormant emails and old messenger pings. He even started to envy the ones who he saw had the foresight to bring bubble gum. And then a loud and boisterous female voice carried across the murky pond of people from the entrance. "Jacob! Jacob, is that you?" It was Elise Pepper Tarpon. She was one of the researchers he worked with briefly on the autism projects. She was one of his colleagues who was not demoted, so he couldn't help but wonder what she was doing at the unemployment office. Pepper? That was the nickname she had at the annex. Pepper? What are you doing here? You should be at work. Work? What work? She said as she parked her large booty on the anorexic seat next to his. Pepper was a large BBW, big beautiful woman of African descent. She had worked her way up through the chain of command by means of pure know-how. She was honest and a hard worker, every management CEO's dream employee. She was smart, too. Very smart for a 24-year-old late millennial. She opened her purse, found a large bag of nacho cheese Doritos, and began munching. Want some? Sure, thanks, Pepper. I just showed up thinking I'd be out of here in 20 minutes or less. I brought nothing with me. He looked intently at her as he began to eat some chips. Pepper, why are you here? What gives? Oh, you okay? Yeah. What gives? What gives? And she laughed so loud at least 15 people's eyes abandoned their iPads and crossword puzzles. Honey, what gives with you? Jacob answered, Pepper, I'd be one of the first to leave, and you know that. But you'd be one of the last, I imagine. You know I was in the dead zone a few weeks after you joined our team. We were introduced, had a few meetings, and if you recall, I was gone. Swept away to reading doctor scrawls and deciphering prescriptions. Oh, I remember you all right, Pepper said quickly. You were the one who made me feel welcome. My size sometimes puts people off. And being a black woman in a predominantly white male department didn't always make things easy as Grandma's rice pudding, either. But you were nice. You were kind, Jacob, and polite, always polite. I guess I was just raised that way, but Pepper, why are you here? They didn't lay you off, did they? Sure as that clock is off 5 minutes, she said, checking her watch. I'll tell you all about it if you save my seat. Elise strode to the line to fill out the same papers Jacob had, giving him enough time to ponder this, the latest in the strange developments at the annex. Pepper, one of the brightest, most liked young employees the company knew? Each day was getting more and more perplexing. Got you a Coke? Hey, thanks. So, Pepper, I just don't get it. I mean, overall, you were doing great. If they had Employee of the Month plaques, your wall would have been plastered with them. Pepper set her Coke down at her feet and looked Jacob in the eye. She let a moment pass while collecting her thoughts. You remember that project we were all working on? The top secret one we were all ending up calling the project? The one where you handed all those notes over to me before they transferred you? Of course I do. I invested a lot of time and effort on that fiasco. Well, a few from our team started having meetings with Denny and Marissa without inviting me and Tony and Tucker and Grace. They'd have them usually around lunchtimes, but they'd last often past 2, sometimes 3 o'clock. We never said anything about it. Figured it was just another clique forming or something. New middle management bonding with Merrill, Stan, and Alice. No biggie. Merrill went to those get-togethers? Oh, yeah, all the time. He was the one who asked me for your notes sometime back, too. He what? Asked for your notes. Our notes. Both yours and mine. Apparently Marissa and Denny needed them for the files, was all he said. He did? Yes, sir. Felt weird the way he asked for them. What do you mean by weird? Pepper reached for her Coke and continued. He acted nervous, and he'd rephrased the request as if he wasn't quite sure what the reasons were for asking for him. Just, well, weird. Huh, Jacob puffed. Was Merrill's call on Saturday meant to be a deflection of some sort? Merrill was a pretty good friend to Jacob in the early days of their employment, but ever since he found God, became hyper-religious and started going to the volunteer Bible studies at work, he began to spend fewer lunchtimes and breaks with him. It was as if God's influence in his life told Merrill that Jacob was an unspiritual influence. It was as if he became another person, not in a good or bad way, just a different way. Perhaps a bit more judgmental, but definitely more wary, more distrustful. So, Jacob finally said, so you think because you and I were somewhat close on the project, they recommended you be let go too? Maybe, I don't know. All I know is those boys and girls are not to be trusted. They have the smell of shark. Truth be told, I never felt right around them. Oh, Pepper, if I had in any way something to do with this, I'm so sorry. Because of me, you're sitting in this crowded, stuffy room waiting for who knows how long for how little. Jacob, it's okay. I seen the way they treated you there. I sensed something was askew even before the day Merrill took those notes. So I made some copies. You did? Yes, I did. I made as many copies of your notes and mine as I could when I saw Denny sniffing around my cubicle one early evening. He didn't know I was there. I had just come back to get my purse after some solo overtime I decided to put in when I felt I was on a roll, and there he was, snooping in my shelves and desk. But instead of confronting him, I decided to lay low inside Tony's cubicle until he left. I saw him take a few pages, walk away, and come back after about 10 minutes to put the pages back. I'm sure he was making copies of what he thought were the apex of our findings. What a joker. So you made copies? Yep. As many as I could, that is. I could make an extra set for you, if you want them. And over this past weekend, when my pops called me for the heads up when he read that tiny article in the Times, I went to Ace and made an extra set of our keys to the lab doors, too. No. Jacob practically was laughing as he slapped his knee with his hand. Why would you... Just then a repeating vibration pulsed below Jacob's right hip. He dug out his cell. It was Jolie. Jolie, are you all right? I've been trying to reach you. Yes, Jacob, I'm fine. I spent the weekend with Mom. I needed to get away. You're going through a lot, and I figured you could use some space. Well, I appreciate that, and yeah, it's been tough, and well, I'm at a place now I can't even describe. Hear all that noise? Yeah. I'll tell you all about it later, but I'm with Pepper now. Remember Pepper? She took my place at research. Anyway, she's got some news. Number 103, number 103. It was the overhead intercom, and it was Jacob's number. Shit, Jolie, I can't talk right now. Can I call you in an hour or so? Sure, Jacob. I'm back in Pacoima. Great, I'll call your landline then. Bye. Jolie pushed the end call button. Pepper, that's my number. Listen, yes, I'd love those notes now, and maybe we can talk more about, well, the keys, and Pepper placed her pudgy soft hand on Jacob's shoulder. It's all right, Jacob, it's all right. You, my bro, were onto some serious shit. We both were. Here's my home number. Call me when you get a chance. Now go get some of that no-job security. Chapter 5. When Jacob finally got home, he immediately called Jolie. But once again, he was asked to leave a message at the beep. He hung up. He picked the phone up again, hit redial, and waited. Jolie, it's me. Sorry about before, but I was at the unemployment office and they just had called my name. I'm set up for the next few weeks anyway, so that's good. Gotta pay rent, you know. So, I can talk now. Call me back. Love you. Oh, and Zipper says to give Chloe a rub. And he sighed. Sighed and sighed a third time. He threw his cell phone onto a small pile of dirty underwear in his laundry basket. Jacob had always felt conversations were more safe on landlines. He remembered reading about when Tom Cruise was still married to Nicole Kidman and they were having an argument whilst on cell phones. How some lowbrow retrieved the private conversation, recorded it, and let it out to the voyeuristic public. This story caused an impact on his distrust of cells. He then dialed Pepper's number. Hello? You do okay? It's me, Jacob. Yeah, I know it's you, dumb shit. And yeah, I did okay, I guess. They made it easy with the exit letter. I'll be getting about $800 a week until I find something or the government luck runs out. With Trump in control, who knows how long that could last. How about you, brother? Lucky you, Jacob sighed a fourth time for the day. I'll be getting $565. They gave me a dock and pay when they demoted. Sorry, sucker. They wanted you to quit. Yeah, that's what Merrill was saying. Good old Merrill. Hey, you want to meet somewhere for some night cup of joe? Maybe the Steampunk in Valley Village? I think they're closed by now. How about Eagles in North Hollywood? Well, I know the place. They have a newsstand, right? Yeah, even have papers from New York City. And, oh, the lox and bagels. Can we meet there? How about midnight if it isn't too late for you? I got to go to FedEx and make a shitload of copies of some stuff for a friend of mine. That's fine, Pepper. I'll see you at 12. See ya. Oh, and Pepper? Yeah. Thank you. You're welcome. But hold up, bro. I'll be thanking you, I think, soon enough. Jacob was renting a rent-a-clunker, or as the ad said, rent-a-fucker, with expletive-deletive markings, to see him through his no-car period. Pepper was already waiting with a cup of hot cocoa in her hands and a veggie salad when Jacob came through the swinging door at practically 12 a.m. on the dot. It was rather chilly for a late October night in L.A., and Jacob thought a hot cocoa with whipped cream was a good idea. Sorry I ordered before you showed up, your handsome ass, but I was starving. No worries. Are those FedEx bags holding what I think they might be holding? Pepper smiled in a way that only the more perceptive could appreciate. They ain't no wedding invitations. Jacob ordered a tuna sandwich. He took a long sip from his cup of cocoa. To start, should we be acknowledging those? He pointed to the 3 semi-bulging bags of photocopies. Jacob, Pepper took one of her long, thoughtful pauses, much like a seasoned investigator would from a detective TV show. Jacob, listen to me, and try not to interrupt, at least until I get to why I made those frickin' keys to the annex. Jacob, to say the least, was all ears. You were on to something. She finally spoke. Something big. Big as in mega big. And I think it's one major reason they got you off the team. And I think it's one major reason in their myopic perception of the world of commerce, and forgive me for the characterization, but that they didn't want you. They didn't want you, the nice codependent guy from the Midwest, to get any iota of fucking credit. And what's more, they wanted people like me and Tony and Tucker to just keep doing what we were doing. Looking the other way, collecting our paychecks, getting those free 3-course fat-inducing meals on overtime weekends. Once Denny and the others realized I was using your notes to further your advancements, and yeah, Jacob, they were advancing their pet program, the project, they started the smear campaign against me, yeah, but more importantly, against you. Every orifice in Jacob's body became an ear. Pepper continued. Did you know, for instance, Denny and that cunt Marisa put every single vial of your formulas into locked and sealed ventilated refrigeration units? Well, yeah, Tucker told me. At that time I was flattered. But now is right, Jacob. Annex Systems is probably only months, if not weeks, away from announcing to the world they've found a major breakthrough for low-functioning, severe autism. They're about to tell the entire world they can help dramatically schizophrenic patients, as well as practically cure autism in the most difficult cases. Jacob, sweetheart, they're using your notes, your vials, your most recent experimental formulas, the ones that have gone way past the lab mice stages. They're publicly using everything you and I have discovered on a real, bona fide human being next year. The lab rats and mice have shown such real-time rapid cognitive behavior improvements. A mother of a 14-year-old suffering from severe autism has given the annex permission to start him on treatments as soon as this coming spring. If this boy is released from his non-cognitive state to that of a fully functioning, communicating adolescent, well, ka-ching! Guess is going to be the richest research lab in the country. Wait. If they're so certain it'll work, how come they're keeping it a secret? And how did you find out about this, Pepper? Pepper paced her tempo down a tad. Until I get the keys. Hush. They're certain it will work publicly because Meryl has a sister. She has low-function autism. He snuck a small eyedropper of your stuff out before they caught on to the theft and started locking everything up. Meryl, without anyone knowing it, put your formula into his sister's breakfast drink about 6 months ago. She's fully recovered from someone who used to have tantrums, who often used grunts and eye blinks to express herself, to someone who now can debate politics and discuss the news with her siblings and parents. Whoa. How old is she? She's 37. Same age as Meryl. They're monozygotic, Jacob. Identical twins. Only Meryl is normal, and Marie has ASD. Jacob was dumbfounded. Pepper continued, and I just know that unless we can prove you came up with this breakthrough, you and I are going to be sitting in fly-infested waiting rooms for charity checks for some time to come. How did you find this out? Did they tell you? No, They wouldn't share shit like that with us. Are you kidding? Remember that night I stayed late and caught Denny snooping in our papers? Yeah? Well, he made a cell phone call to his bosom buddy Marissa right after returning the papers to my shelves. I could only hear his side of the convo, but it was like, "Yep, got 'em all. Meryl's sister is still as talkative as a Harvard graduate, and I told him if he lets this news out, I will personally see it to that he never works in his field again." And then I heard him tell Marissa he'd be seeing to it that the formula would be under lock and key in sealed refrigeration vaults. Where they put them, I don't exactly know. "I bet I do," Jacob interjected. "You know that place better than I. And Merrill, he's in their inner circle now? I didn't hear him mentioned in that call again. Denny made it brief and shot out the door with his satchel of goodies, but they all do hang out together now." "I'm sure they're cutting him a sweet deal just to keep his mouth shut," Jacob said, his teeth starting to grind. "Yeah, as long as his sister's mouth isn't. I'm pretty sure that's what went down, too." Merrill feels guilty. "What's that, Jacob?" "Oh, I got this weird call from him, which didn't make much sense just before the layoffs. I'm saying maybe he feels guilty." "Maybe, hon, but he sure doesn't look very sad or worried these days, when he's out with those two especially. You know, he's supposed to be religious now." "Honey, what we say we are and what we're supposed to be are too often two entirely different things."